Well, most of us have come to recognize if we continue to practice the same old patterns, we will continue to get the same results. A number of podcasts ago, I did an episode regarding a stopwatch cycle. And it's a cycle that we often repeat. And over time, if we're wise, we can come to recognize that and go, why do I keep ending up in the same place? Well, one of the things in looking back at that, I think I did a really good job of expressing how things go sideways, but I don't think I did nearly a robust enough job to talk about ways of intervening into the cycle. So today we want to talk about breaking the acting out cycle using, again, the word picture of a stopwatch. And I want to share a couple of my own fender benders this week because my recovery is still getting played out. It's not yet approaching perfection. So here we go. Welcome aboard.
Ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, let me just say, if you are new to the podcast or an old timer, the best way to connect with me and the resources that I have to offer are on Circle. Circle is a learning platform where you can get access to a whole bunch of documents, planning worksheets, free resources that can help you as you move away from porn. There's also information there regarding the Finding Traction course. That's a 52-week video course that you can download, you can take, and there's information on how you can do that. I've had guys doing that individually or with a couple of recovery buddies, accountability partners, and there's also information on how to join a Finding Traction group that you can become a part of, where we walk through the 52-week course together. All of that you can connect with on Circle. The instructions are there on the show notes. And if you want to talk to me, maybe arrange a free Zoom call about how I can help you in your recovery, please reach out to me at bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. Well, let's go back to the stopwatch cycle. I know I talked about this also on Pure Sex Radio. My buddy Jonathan Daugherty wanted me to walk through this with him as well. And I think guys have found this helpful because it makes kind of a simple way of looking at some of the cyclical patterns we get into. And because I'm an old communicator, of course, I have them all starting with the same letter. So I'm just going to do a quick review of this if you haven't listened to the stopwatch cycle. And using the example of a stopwatch, at 12 noon, you have peace. Peace is where we're walking in equilibrium and we feel solid. We have a sense of serenity and life is going the way we want it to go. But then all of a sudden, a lightning bolt happens. The lightning bolt we're going to call a trigger. It can sometimes even be as simple as a thought bubble. Gee, wouldn't it be nice? Gee, I wonder if that old device is still around. Gee, I wonder, about this or that. And all of a sudden we have this idea or we have this trigger. The trigger can be an internal emotion that always gets us to want to reach for our old medicine. Or it can be an external trigger, something that happens that sets off. That's a catalyst for arousal. Now the clock is ticking. In this process, again, we're not going to give you the breaking the cycle first. Let's just continue what often happens. Then what happens is this begins to become a preoccupation. The thought lodges in our mind. It's there. It sticks in our thought like a splinter in our mind, to quote the Matrix. and it just sits there and begins to grow. At some point, we turn and engage with that mental idea, and we now move into the pursuit. It's this sort of way that we practice ritualized behaviors where we begin to groom ourselves, so to speak, and begin to practice certain behaviors that move us towards acting out. It might happen over a day. It might happen over a week. Maybe we go on social media. Maybe we start doing double, triple takes. Maybe we do whatever that time-honored things. We drive through certain parts of town. We do certain ritualistic behaviors. And all of that now is we're moving. Let's say the preoccupation is, the 2 or 3 o'clock. Now we're moving into pursuit. We're now into 4 and 5 o'clock. And at this point in the cycle, our will to essentially becomes hijacked. We really are moving towards acting out, and we really don't want to stop the process. We might convince ourselves that we still don't want to do it, but we're inevitably headed towards what is at the bottom of the stopwatch is, let's call it our porn event, our version of relapsing, our red activity that we have defined as being out of bounds for what we want for our lives. And so that is the porn event. Well, immediately there follows some version of pain. It could be remorse, it could be regret, and we might just get stuck in that cycle. Pursuit, porn event, pain, and we can stay at the bottom of that cycle and just continue for days or weeks where we're just in a stage. We're under it. We're in a porn way of thinking. And that is what happens. Oftentimes, after, following that, there is some version of a protective impulse where we erase all our history. We try to make sure nobody knows. We move into secrecy, a double life to protect ourselves, protect our relationships, protect how people see us, protect our jobs, whatever that is. One of the ways we can protect could be a further one where we promise ourselves, we make these resolutions where, you know what, I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that anymore because I've convinced myself that now I didn't even enjoy it. I hear that all the time. It's like, well, why do you still keep doing that if you didn't enjoy it? Well, that's, the fact you didn't enjoy it or the fact you're now feeling regretful isn't the issue. You're making these promises that really now insulate you from actually breaking the cycle. So we stay in that cycle and we can live in that cycle for days and weeks and months and never get out of it. But at some point, it could be something outside of this cycle intervenes. We have a rock bottom moment. We have something comes in. We have a spiritual or an emotional breakdown, so to speak, a good thing where it's like all of a sudden the clouds part for a bit and we see things for as they really are. It could be that we get found out. It could be that this now comes with relational impacts and we now realize, oh my goodness, this is going to screw up my life big time. I can't continue doing the same thing over and over again. I have to find a way to break out of this cycle. Now, you might be too young to know what an analog stopwatch looks like. You can look it up, but you can actually see this. I have a version of this on Circle, and this document can be found under free resources called Breaking the Acting Out Cycle. And you just need to partly visualize there is a button at the top that starts it. I actually have one in front of me that starts it. And, in that point, the clock is now ticking. Now, you can stop it, but that is not the same as breaking out of the cycle. A lot of guys have said, you know what, sometimes I can stop that process for a little bit of time. Maybe I disrupt it. I have to go to work, or my wife drives in the driveway, or I distract myself, or I go do something different. But it's not like I've reset myself back to a place of feeling solid, having a sense of equilibrium. And in a stopwatch, there's this little button which actually you can press once you stop it. And what it does is it actually puts it back to the top position. You're now back into a place of feeling, okay, I feel good now. Now, some guys say, well, you know what? There's one way to get a sense of release, and that is just to go through and continue to, to the point of acting out. And then will that not break the spell, so to speak? Well, it's very much a pseudo relief, because all it does is it further entrenches the acting out pattern. Oftentimes guys have realized, when I act out, it actually doesn't take away the intensity or the cloud I'm in. It actually just leaves me in that cloud for days at a time. Not to mention the ripples afterwards. We'll talk about that next podcast. So there is a pseudo form. Guys go, well, I'm having a hard time sleeping, so if I just, act out, then maybe I can get to sleep. All of that is not what we're talking about. What is the way that we find that little reset button that doesn't lead to acting out, that puts us back to a place of equilibrium? And if you're on Circle and you download this, you will see immediately after the trigger, there is a word that we're going to introduce. Of course, it starts with P, and it is the word preempt. It is absolutely necessary that we preempt it. And the question is, when do we preempt this cycle? The answer is, we preempt this early. And there's three things that we have to do immediately once we know we have been triggered, once we know the clock has started. I'll go through them and I'll explain them a little bit more. Then I'll explain it from a couple stories from my week. Number one is we have to reach out. Number two, we have to set up a boundary. And number three, we have to establish negative reminders. Those are the three things. Now, I'm not talking about negative reminders, which are after we relapse and what some people call consequences. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about three things which are early preemptive activities. Number one, reach out. Number two, set up a boundary. And number three, establish negative reminders. Okay, let me give you a few examples from my last week. And I guess it's just been a week of examples. So here is the first example, and I'm going to explain how I did this and how it worked for me. Number one, Friday night, I'm on my PS4, and I come across a cutscene. And if I ever am on a game that has a cutscene with nudity, I always just hit, it's very rare that it happens. I just hit X or square, and it just skips over it. Well, for some reason, so this is a story. I'm going to share two stories. The first story is, I'm going to call them two fender benders. One fender bender, I backed into somebody. It was my fault. And the other fender bender, somebody backed into me. It was their fault. So in this one, this is my fault. So I, Friday night, did not just hit skip. And as a result, there was a cutscene that had some nudity in it. Now, what happened was, immediately, that's on me. That lodged in my brain. And it now was something that was going to quickly move me towards preoccupation. Now, this is the very first thing I did. Number one, I reached out. I in this situation, I told my wife, hey, I saw this. This is what happened in terms of that. So I reached out. Second thing I did is I set up a boundary. So this was Friday night. And now because I had done this little action, so to speak, I had failed to skip. I had failed to follow what I said I was going to do. I now set up a boundary. And what I said to myself was, Friday night, you have kind of started the clock ticking just by that little action. What I am going to do is I am going to completely stay off my PS4 for the entire weekend. Just because I'm feeling a little wobbly because of that event. I'm feeling I don't know. I'm just feeling not super strong, and I know when I'm not. It's like having a bit of a low grade headache or flu. I just said, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit strong, and I feel like if this continues, sometimes this weekend I'm gonna use that PS4 and I'm gonna jump over to something that I know I shouldn't be on. Now, let me just say, my PS4 has a password on it. My wife always types the password in before I go on it. But I was just feeling vulnerable. If she's out of the room, I might just jump over to something else to try to see something. There's a web browser on it. I never use it, but just the idea of it. And so I set up a boundary and said, for the weekend, I'm not going to go on the PS4 at all. Because I just need to clear this out of my system. I just need to remove this completely, and get it, flush it out. Drink lots of orange juice, so to speak, like they say you're supposed to do if you have a cold or a flu or something. So that is the boundary I need to set up just to give me some space. The weekend was actually a little hard because there was no video games. I ended up doing my workshop is cleaner than it's ever been. I did all sorts of reading and crossword puzzles, just because I'd kind of set that boundary. I need those 2 days off. And then the third thing, I set up a negative reminder. And I said, you know what? I have, in one sense, misused that. Again, it was a small part of the game, but I have misused that. And I right now am deciding that if that happens again, that I am going to remove that game completely. There's no fooling around. I know that if I misuse that game again, I'm right now setting up a negative reminder. There is no next time. If that happens again, I know that what I'm saying is that I am going to remove and that part of my enjoyable time set that doesn't include that anymore. That's a negative reminder. And I told a couple of my groups that, so they know that. So there's an example, something that happened. I partly instigated that trigger, partly was my fault, but I went through, reach out, set up a boundary, establish negative reminders. And you know what? Both Saturday and Sunday night, as I thought about it, I had a really good day. I feel like anything that was started is now kind of flushed out of my system. And then came Monday. Monday, another example. So Monday, I'm home alone, and my wife's off teaching, and lots going on in the news. So I checked out. I was checking out the news. Safe news site. It's always been a safe news site. And who's bombing who, kind of thing. And I saw a interesting video about one of the bombings, and I clicked on it, and immediately it went to a social media site. It's like, what? I thought I had all my social media sites on my block list on Covenant Eyes. Well, apparently I didn't have this one. And so I looked at it, and sure enough, I scrolled down, and then all these stupid shorts are there, and I'm going, wow, I guess this is not on my Covenant Eyes list. This is not a safe, obviously this is not a safe site for me. Now, the point, part of it was, okay, that one was not on me. Somebody backed into me. The very first thing I did early, within a minute, what I did is I texted two of my groups and says, hey, and you guys in my groups, I did this. I'm not making this up. I said, hey, was just on a news site. It took me to a social media site. Just wanting you guys to know that. And when my wife gets home at 2:00, I'll immediately add that to the block list, and I'll text you guys back and bookend it. So I reached out to the guys. I told them what the scoop was. Number 2, I set up a boundary. The boundary is going to be going into not having that part where I can go to that. Covenant Eyes takes care of that boundary. And the negative reminders, at this point, I don't have one because I didn't, but I got to come up with a negative reminder. At this point, it took care of itself because I immediately followed 1 and 2, which worked out for me. All right. The negative reminders are where you go, I want to make sure there's no next time. And, it's one sense I don't need that negative reminder for this social media site because I won't be able to go there. And since I've done it, I checked it out, and sure enough, any links, how family members send you, I don't know, these short videos on social media, and I just say to them, don't even bother sending it because my computer, my smartphone, it just doesn't go there. It won't allow me to go there. So in one sense, the negative reminders took care of themselves. All right. One last example as me practicing it. Now, guys, I've been at this for years. So I am not telling you to do something that I don't, and I'm not learning myself. And some guys say, well, this is really good maybe for guys early in recovery. I mean, that's just BS. If you don't practice this, well into these are patterns, these are habits, these are safe, wise ways of dealing with it that will stand you in good stead month after month, year after year. And they're the very things I continue to do these things because they've got me to where I am today. So last example is a little one, and maybe some of you have experienced this. I have an old laptop, and my old laptop is, if you have an old laptop, that you're not able to update to Windows 11. So, which comes with some security problems, and it's my business one. And my wife's been after me for a long time. You need to get a new laptop. Just go out and get a new laptop. And I hate spending money because when I already have something that's kind of working, to go spend new money on something. But I finally decided that I'm going to get a new laptop. So I got myself a brand new Lenovo Yoga laptop that is going to be coming in any day now. Well, here's the challenge. The challenge is today, tomorrow, the next day. My wife's got 2.5 days of teaching left and the year's over. Well, any hour, between now and then, I get a ring on the doorbell, and my new laptop's going to be here. Well, guys, what's the first thought you have? And don't tell me you didn't have that thought if it was you. You go, oh, I've got a new laptop. My new laptop is completely open. And that's the very first thought that goes into my head. So what I did, the very first thing I did is my guys already know that. I've reached out to him and say, hey guys, I ordered a new laptop. It should be coming any time. And I'll let you know when it gets here. And I'll let you know when when I've got Covenant Eyes on it. And, and the Covenant Eyes, of course, is going to be that boundary. So that's what I have done regarding a new challenge in my recovery. This is the way it works, guys. This is the way you play it out. Now, some of you are going, dude, I want to get past that. I want to get to a point where I don't have to do any of that. Well, sorry. This is the way recovery looks month after month. You learn to work with, a disability that you have brought into your life, you have patterned in your life, and as you walk these things out in healthy ways, you can be confident that you will walk in freedom. But you can't be confident that you will walk in freedom if you stop doing the things that got you to where you are. That is that version of overconfidence that we talked about last week. So guys, hope that helps. Hope a few of my examples, I know your examples may be different, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how to walk this out. So here's to breaking the acting out cycle. We'll see you next time.